Yo, what is good? What is going on? Hope you guys are doing well. So, as a lot of you have probably seen, there was like a million changes to the PBE. A lot more than I was expecting. I guess they're going to be doing like pretty much like mid-season sized updates every time there's a new ranked split. So the new ranked split is coming next patch 2 weeks from today. So there's a lot of new items and item changes on the PBE. It seems like this set of changes is mostly focused around like ADC items. There's a couple, there's a couple new stuff for mages and tanks, but for the most part, these are like all bot lane focused, ADC focused item changes. So I just wanted to make this video to talk about how the changes affect Kled mainly. So I'm not going to talk about every single change that's in this patch. I'm just going to mainly focus on the stuff that actually matters for Kled, at least from my first like impressions. I've tested some of the new items a bit, and I've read a lot about them, so I have like a rough idea of how I feel about them so far. So first thing, I'm gonna talk about the items that were changed that I think are net positive for Kled. First we have Tabi Ninja Tabi. I mean, if you play Kled, or if you play any like aggressive top laner, I mean, you definitely know how annoying this item is. Like, everybody just rushes it first item against you. It's really annoying. They changed that a little bit. They made it 100 gold cheaper, and it also gives you 5 more armor. On live, this item is 1100 gold and 20 armor. But in exchange, it only reduces auto attack damage by 8% now, instead of 12%, which is how it is on live. So in terms of like people rushing it against you and just like stonewalling you instantly, it's pretty much going to be exactly the same. But as you get like items, as you get to like mid game, late game, it's going to start being like a lot weaker. 4% on every single auto attack is a pretty big difference. 4% less on every auto attack is a pretty big difference, especially considering you're probably going to have more crit on Kled than you used to. So your auto damage, 4% of like a crit is going to matter even more than it would for you like on live. So I think overall this is pretty good. I mean, like I said, somebody rushing it against you, it's going to be exactly the same, but whatever. Like, you'll be able to scale better against them from mid to late game. Deal with somebody with just Tabi as their only item, like only defensive item, will be easier to deal with. This Merk Treads change should be in the bad section. Whoops. All they did was nerf Merk Treads. There's not really anything to talk about. It just gives you 10% less tenacity for 100 less gold. I mean, they've just been nerfing tenacity constantly throughout the season, so it's not really that surprising. The Legend Tenacity rune was already nerfed. Unflinching was like reworked to not give you tenacity. And then on this PB update, they also removed Legend Tenacity. So there's like almost no way to get tenacity in the game. I mean, if you've seen my recent games, I don't even run Legend Tenacity anymore, pretty much. I just go Alacrity anyway. After they nerfed it, I didn't think it was worth taking anyway. I still probably would not buy Merk Treads, even if they had a lot of CC. I think you just have to take the 10% tenacity shard in the runes and just like accept that if you get hit by multiple CC spells, you're just not going to move. Because like trying to build tenacity is like a losing game. There's not really that many good sources of it, especially with like all the nerfs. Besides that, they changed Swifty Boots. They just give you 45 MS now, like every other boot. So they don't give you 60 like they do on live. It just has like a phage passive attached to it now. Here, I can pull up the exact numbers because it didn't show on the client. Yeah, also, if you want to know any PBE changes in general, you should definitely follow Spider Axe on Twitter. It's where I get all my information besides the PB itself. But yeah, you can see here it's lowered by 15 move speed. Doesn't give any slow resist at all, but it has this weird like phage passive on it. So every time you auto attack, you get 30 MS if you're a melee champ, 20 if you're ranged. So that's like it's like a kind of interesting option for Kled. If you watch my games, I generally don't even go boots at all. Like, I don't go tier 2 boots. I usually sell them for another item. But I think it's like an interesting option. This is the only new item in this section. It's really weird. Like, I guess it's supposed to be for supports. It's a cheaper boot, it's only 900 gold, so it's like Lucidity price. It gives you 10 less move speed than every other boot, but you permanently have Baron recall. Like, you always have the Rift Herald Baron, you know, 4-second recall, which sounds extremely broken. I don't know if I'm like overrating it, but like always having empowered recall at all times just seems ridiculous to me. Like, you can, you know, it saves you so much time. You know, normally you try to walk back to a safe spot. I mean, especially top lane, like people will do anything to stop your recall. So like being able to just instantly back like the second you shove wave, it feels really good. And, you know, especially for a roaming champ like Kled, you can just lane gank somebody with your R and then just instantly recall right away. I think it just saves you so much time. Like, that alone is good, and then it has this like other effect on it, like a stacking effect, where after you travel like a certain amount of distance, it then gives you like the Moby Boots, like a mini Moby Boots passive, where you get 45 MS out of combat. And they just got rid of Moby Boots. This is like a Moby Boots replacement. I tested this in a game. It took about like 8 to 10 minutes. It seems like on average it'll take around 8 to 10 minutes to fully travel that distance. Which is pretty good, I think. You know, most games in this season go to like 25, 35 minutes. So if you buy these boots within the first 10 minutes of the game, like, you're going to get the upgrade. And the upgrade still has the Baron recall on it, by the way. So yeah, these seem pretty good. I feel like I want to try them more. I built it one game, it felt good. I feel like I want to try it more. It sounds like it could be strong. Another change that's, I think, a net positive for Kled is the Blade of the Ruined King changes. Unfortunately, the item's still in the game. You know, again, if you play Kled, you know how much this item just shits on you. And I never really felt like it was that good on him, because it gave you, like, you know, not really a good assortment of stats for how expensive it is, 3,200 gold. But they ended up buffing the stats pretty significantly. Here, I'll pull up the more exact number changes here. But it gained 15 AD, like 5% attack speed and 2% lifesteal. On live, it's 8% lifesteal and 40 AD. So it gained every stat. Every stat just went up, and it cost the same amount of gold for some reason. The only thing they nerfed about it was the percent held damage, which was, you know, the most obnoxious thing to deal with as Kled. They nerfed about like 3% current health, 2 or 3% current health. So yeah, basically I feel like it's a little bit more viable on Kled because they just buffed all the stats for the same price, and it's a little bit less annoying to deal with. It's still gonna like one-shot you, but it's slightly less annoying to deal with, less percent held damage when you have to play against somebody with it. I think that's, you know, really good for Kled. And then Lord Dominics, of course, on live, you know, is known for the Giant Slayer passive, you know, where it just makes everyone deal 22% more damage to you based on your health. Because, like, Kled's health bars are counted as one, they're added up together. So, you know, even if you have 0 HP items, if you run into an ADC with this item, they're going to be doing the max 20%, you know, amplified damage to you. Because you're going to have way more health than them. So they completely removed the Giant Slayer passive. It's just not even a thing. This item just has no passive. It only gives you stats. And what they did to the stats themselves is they buffed it by 5 AD, 5% armor pen, and it gives you 5% more crit chance. The crit chance thing is every item, every crit item in the game now. That's like a full item, a legendary item. Just always gives you 25% crit. So there's no more 20% crit items in the game, as far as like legendary items go. So yeah, like, again, this is like another thing where using it as Kled is way better, because the live version of Lord Downs you never buy, because you can never use the passive. So Mortal Mind is just always better. But this version, compared to Mortal is actually 5 less AD and 5% less armor pen. Mortal is still 40 AD, 35% pen. It did gain 5% crit chance, and it still has the Grievous passive, of course. But I think for the most part, this is going to become like the core go-to percent pen item for Kled. Like, you're just going to buy this every game, because how could you give this up? You know, for only 3k gold, you get 45 AD, 40% pen. 40% pen that's as much as you'll ever need, and 25% crit all on one item, and you don't have to worry about not having synergy with the passive. So this is pretty much going to be, you know, buy every game. The only time you might want to go Mortal instead is if nobody else in your team has Grievous, and their team has like a lot of healing, like a Soraka Vlad kind of thing, and your team fighting. So like if you're in that kind of situation, Mortal would be better for sure. But any other scenario, Lord Doms is going to be like a core item. And then another item that got changed is Randuin's Omen. They just made it give 50 less health. On live it's 400 health, and it gives 20 more armor. So it's 50 less HP, 20 more armor, which is amazing for Kled. You know, Kled doesn't normally want to build that much HP, because even with those changes, there still are a lot of percent HP sources in the game. Percent HP damage sources, that is. So giving less health but more armor is really good for Kled, because as you might know already, Kled has like no good armor item that he can buy. Every armor item just sucks or has like bad synergy with him, like Death Stance, Bleed. Like building MR is pretty easy because you can just go Maw like nothing. And if you want more MR than that, you can go like Visage or Force of Nature or whatever. But going armor is like impossible. I usually don't even bother. They gutted GA at the beginning of the season, so I don't even build Guardian Angel anymore. So I usually just don't even bother building armor. I mean, you might think that's still the case because there's a 40% armor pen item. So most of the time you're probably not going to buy armor anyway, but if you really wanted to against an all AD crit heavy team, you know, 75 armor and it's going to be 30% crit reduction. It's, you know, it's pretty strong, and they buffed the slow as well. You can't see it here, but the slow is now a 2-second slow on the active, a 2-second, like 70% slow, I believe, which is, you know, pretty noticeable. It's pretty strong. That's kind of like the old Stride Breaker, right when they got rid of the dash, and it was like a 90% slow. A 70% 2-second slow is pretty strong. And again, this item is very cheap. It's a 2,700 gold item. But I think if you're against like AD heavy champs, or if you have to split push, for example, against Tryndamere, Kled used to do that a lot back in the day. At least I used to. I used to build Randuin's like 4th, 5th against Tryndamere, if I was just perma matching them. So it might become an option in certain games. We already talked about Merk Treads. These items, let's talk about Essence Reaver first, since it's already an item. They changed this item completely. It's a little bit bugged on the client, but you can see it more clearly here. They got rid of the sheen. It's not a Spellblade item at all anymore. So it's just stats. It's just stats and the mana passive. So it's sort of like old Essence Reaver. If you remember a long time ago, Kled used to build Essence Reaver in like Season 6, around Season 7, if you guys played back then. It was just like an item that just gave you a lot of stats and then the mana passive. Whoops, didn't click that. So it still has the mana on hit passive, which, you know, obviously you can't use that. It gives you 65 AD, 25 haste, 25% crit. There's no Spellblade on it, it's just a bug in the client. And for 3,200 gold, I don't know, it's not bad. Like, that's a good assortment of stats. It's just that for 3,200, it's like really fucking expensive. And it has no passive as far as Kled is concerned, because you can't use the mana passive. So it's just that much gold for these stats. I really don't think it's that good, especially when we get into the other crit items. You'll see what I mean. There's a lot of good stat stick items. So I don't really think this is a good option. Even if you're going the full crit build, I feel like there's better options. I personally am not going to buy this. I think I'm just going to ignore it. This is a brand new item. It's, again, 3,200 gold, same price, same AD, 25% crit like every other crit item. It just has a passive where when you crit, they bleed. They bleed over a couple seconds. A pretty fast bleed. The bleed is 35% of your total AD, which, I don't know. I don't know if I'm, like, undervaluing it, but it sounds really weak. I tried it in practice pool, and, you know, with, like, 400 AD, 500 AD, for example, you know, that's only, what, like 140, 170 bleed damage? Like, whether you have 400 or 500 AD? It doesn't really sound that good to me, and that's like with a full build. I don't know, that doesn't sound that strong. You know, maybe I'm looking at it the wrong way, but I feel like this is like a bait item, so I wouldn't buy this. This is a brand new Bruiser item, I guess, a Bruiser Juggernaut item. This was actually an arena item, if you played arena yet. It's a new arena item, but they brought it to Summoner's Rift. It's 40 AD, 500 health, for 3,300 gold, so it's really expensive. But you get 2% of your bonus health as AD, and you get up to 10% increase AD based on your missing health. Sort of like the Gore Drinker Spike passive that it used to have, if you remember when Gore Drinker originally came out. It had the increase AD based on your missing health kind of thing. This sounds like it'll be really good on like Scion, like Set. Urgot will probably buy it. It doesn't really sound that good for Kled because if you don't know, Skarl's health does not count as bonus. So when you buy the item, you just only have the 500 bonus. So you'd have to build more HP items to really make this worth it. And there's not really that many good HP options. I mean, you could try like a Bruiser build with like this and like Randuin's, like Titanic, Lord Doms, and then maybe like Shojin or something. Like, I don't know. It really doesn't sound that good to me. I'm sure it could work as like a for fun build, but yeah, I think it's more going to be for those other champs, like Scion, Set, whatever, that are actually getting a lot of bonus HP for like their abilities. So I think it's kind of pointless on Kled, but there might be some like for fun builds you could try with it. This is how I feel like these 5 items I think are going to be pretty core. So I'm still going to be building Hubris Profane every game. These 2 are completely unchanged. So that's pretty much going to be my first 2 items every game. And then whenever you get to the point of the game where you need Armor Pen, which is pretty much every game, you need % Armor Pen. Whenever you get to that point, you just go Lord Doms. Infinity Edge was changed a bit. It gives more AD now and more crit chance. So this one item, this is what I'm talking about. If you wanted like a crit item just for the stats, the raw stats, this is like your best buy. Besides the pen item. Like if you want another crit item just for the stats, I mean, this is 80 AD, which is like the most you can get from any item. Besides like, you know, Maru Mana or something. This is pretty much the most AD you can get from an item. And then it gives you the 50% more crit damage with 25% crit chance. So if you literally just have these 2 items, you have 50% crit and 50% crit damage, and you deal untankable damage because you ignore 40% armor. You know, you have a lot of AD with this lineup. So I think these 4 items are going to be really common on Kled. At least for me, this is what I'm looking to build like most of my games. And then you can just round out your build with an Axiom Arc. And then any of these items, I think like this would be like a 6 item build. These 4, and then close it out with Axiom at some point. And then your 5th item is just one of these, or boots, if you want to go boots. If you want to go, you know, symbiotic souls, whatever. This for the Baron Recall, you can go CD boots. You can go Swifty Boots, like. But if you're like me and you're not going boots and you're just going 6 items, I think all of these are good options. In terms of what got changed here, you know, Shieldbow gives a little bit more AD, no lifesteal, a little bit more crit. So, you know, lifesteal is pretty whatever on Kled. So getting more AD and more crit chance I think is a good trade-off, and it obviously gives you the shield when you're low, which Kled can benefit greatly from. So I think this is like a potential good option if you... This is like if you're going 75% crit, because 50% crit is more than enough. But if you wanted to build more, because these new crit items are so strong, and the change crit items are so strong, I think this is like a okay option, especially if you're against like Riven or Garen, somebody with like an Execute Darius type of move. Collector also got changed. It's 5 more AD now and 5% more crit. They took away 1 lethality, which doesn't matter. So basically it's just 5 more AD, 5% more crit for 200 more gold. It's okay, you know. This is a good lineup of stats, because getting lethality with AD, with crit, with 40% pen is just really strong. So even though it's a little overpriced, it's just like a perfect assortment of stats for Kled. Because for Kled, the best stats he can get are AD number 1, and then pen, and then haste and crit chance are like after that. So this is like just a good lineup of stats. So I think it's potentially a good option if you're going crit already. Shojin, I have Shojin here because on the live patch right now that's already out, they finally fixed this bug with Kled's W, where his 4th auto was not counting as like a spell for abilities that amplify spell damage. So Kled 4th W auto actually will benefit from Shojin now on live servers and on this PB patch, of course. So I think Shojin is like a little bit of a better option now for a lot of reasons. One, obviously because they fixed the bug, so it actually benefits all of your abilities now. You know, you get the extra haste. It gives you a decent amount of stats. You know, the health is a little bit less bad because you don't have to worry about Lord Doms. And, you know, the Bork % reduction. Also, I can additionally mention that cut down, you know, the rune that gives you more damage based on the enemy's health. Whoops. That is like no longer in the game at all. They just completely reworked it to be this like burst type of rune. There we go. Yeah, deal 8% more damage if they have more than 6% health. So it has nothing to do with their actual health number, like their max HP. All it is if the person is like full health or near full health, you deal 8% more damage to them. So it's supposed to just be like a burst rune, I guess. So, you know, I guess like assassins would run this. Just burst type champs in general. I thought about this on Kled because a lot of your mid game and late game plays are just you ulting someone and trying to one-shot them. But I think Last Stand is just too good to pass up on Kled. You know, this is 11% increased damage when you're low. So it's technically higher since you're going to dismount a lot. I mean, a really common scenario on Kled is having your bear trap on somebody, dismounting, and then getting the bear trap and your dismount Q to hit somebody at the same time while you're dismounted and missing all your health. So you get like the full Last Stand boost. So I think that's a little too good to pass up. But I might try to test cut down. And then yeah, as you can see here, Tenacity no longer in the game. Instead it's a haste rune, a stacking haste rune. It gives you 15 haste when you fully stack it. Which is a little interesting. I mean, since we're already on the runes, I guess I might as well mention that Sudden Impact got extremely nerfed. It no longer gives you any pen whatsoever, no lethality, no magic pen. It just does this like shitty true damage proc after you dash, and has a 10-second cooldown. I mean, to me this sounds really bad. Yeah, I mean, obviously you can easily proc it as Kled by just dashing and autoing. But the other rune that you always went in Domination was Ingenious Hunter. And it's not here. As you can see, it's not even in the game. There is no Ingenious Hunter. They took it out of the game. So, in my opinion, there's no reason to ever go Domination. This is like a waste of a tree. I don't even know why it's still here. If there's no Ingenious Hunter and no Sudden Impact. I mean, the other rune page I commonly ran was Transcendence Gathering, which are unchanged. So, you know, my default runes are probably going to look like this. You know, Alacrity, Haste, I think this is just like a preference thing. Whichever one you think is better, you can run. Whichever one you feel better with. You know, it's a little interesting that if you have the Haste rune and Transcendence, that means you're getting 25 Haste just from your runes. Which is pretty good, especially if you're building crit. Because, of course, a lot of crit items don't give any Haste. So it kind of makes up for that. But yeah, that's pretty much all that the rune changes that affect Kled. Pretty much just that stuff. There's a press the attack change, but I need to test that more to really understand it. I think Conquer will still be better on him. Anyways, yeah, Shojin, I already talked about Shojin. PD, now I used to build Phantom Dancer a lot on Kled. And you probably hear me say a lot that attack speed is not really that good on him, because you already have your W. But this item is just like, it's such an overloaded item that it feels like this is going to be worth building just because of like the sheer amount of shit that it gives you. It costs, first of all, it costs no gold. It costs 2,600 gold, which is nothing. You know, it's cheaper than like Yomu's Opportunity, Eclipse, which are already all cheap items. You know, it's cheaper than all of that. It's extremely low price. 60% attack speed on this item alone. 60% attack speed is like a perfect number, because if you're level 18 as Kled, and you have a PD, you have essentially max attack speed. You're very close at 2.5. You are at 2.5, you have Alacrity. If you don't go Alacrity, you're very close. You're like above 2.3. So with one item, with just this item, you're basically max attack speed whenever your W is up, which is very often because of the low cooldown late game. And then it also gives you 25% crit and 12% move speed, which is like a ridiculous amount. And like I said, I mean, if you guys watch me, you already know that I don't go boots a lot. So, I mean, this would just be an extremely easy boot replacement. And then it has the added effect of removing creep block from you. You become ghosted, which means that you can't get creep blocked. You can't get body blocked at all, which is super annoying. So I'm glad that it's on this item. So I kind of feel like I'm going to buy this item a lot with these 5. And like, you know, this is like perfect. You have like every stat imaginable. You have a lot of lethality, right? You have 54, excuse me, lethality from just these 3 items. And you have a lot of haste from these 3 items. You know, you have 60 haste without not counting runes. So with runes, you'd have 75 haste. And, you know, over 50 lethality. You know, a lot of AD, a lot of pen. You'd have 75% crit, and you'd have 12% move speed. So you wouldn't be slow at all either. So I think this is going to be like a really common full damage build if I don't need any kind of situational item. But yeah, it's ridiculous. It's really good. And then the only other item that's changed in a way that I think affects Kled is Bloodthirster. They pretty much reverted this to the old Bloodthirster. Where it's just 80 AD, 18% lifesteal, basically 20% lifesteal on one item. And it has a wrong description there. It still says it gives you AD when you're full health. It doesn't do that anymore. They brought back the overheal shield thing. So if you're full health and you start lifestealing, it gives you like a shield. Now I already tested this on Kled, on dismounted Kled. It doesn't work. It doesn't give you a shield when you're dismounted, which, you know, nothing ever did for dismount Kled. Any of the overheal stuff never worked for dismount Kled, which I don't think is a bug because the game, you know, sees you as not full health, even though it's kind of lame. So, you know, it's probably not something you're really gonna buy, but it's like an interesting option. 80 AD, 18% lifesteal. You know, you're getting a shield when you're full health. I think maybe if you're doing like a side lane kind of build, this could be like interesting. You know, 80 AD is of course like never bad. So I don't think it's gonna be that common, but it's like an interesting option. So yeah, if you wanted to switch out any of these items, like switch out PD for one of these situational items, I think these are still really good options. These are all unchanged. You know, Serpents, Yomu's, Opportunity, Maw just got changed the last patch. But still an extremely strong item, extremely strong stat lineup. I forgot to mention that they did change Neoris. It doesn't amplify your ability damage anymore. It says it does here, but it doesn't. They got rid of it on PBE. It's just a 2600 gold item that just gives you attack speed, crit, move speed. I don't really know why you would buy this instead of PD. Like, even if you were an ADC, I guess if you really valued the refund thing, so like maybe Neela, I guess, but PD just seems so much better. You know, it's 20% more attack speed on PD, and it's 5% more move speed, and they're the same price. You either get ghosted effect or the refund effect. I mean, maybe like Lucian, I guess. I guess there's some characters that care about the refund enough. For Kled, though, I don't think you'd buy that, especially because they got rid of the ability amp effect on it. But yeah, outside of that, I think that's everything that affects Kled. I guess I should mention that Brutalizer is like an extremely joke item. Like, I don't know if they think this is funny. But like, they already nerfed Brutalizer on live. They nerfed how much pen it gave you. And then on PBE, it just doesn't give you any pen. So I already avoid buying Brutalizer. I already did, like, before the last nerf. Usually when I go Profane as my second item, I usually just build Pickaxe, Double Longsword. And then I'll go like Tiamat, whatever, until I have gold to full buy Hydra. So now, yeah, you're definitely not going to waste your money upgrading this. You don't gain any AD. All you get is 10 haste for, you know, 500 gold. It's pointless. Like, if you can avoid buying it, you should just go Pickaxe, Double Longsword, Tiamat. At least Tiamat has the active that does something. Instead of just 10 haste is like nothing. I think that's everything that affects Kled. I hope this was like understandable enough. Of course, there's like a couple other changes on this PB update, but I don't think they matter for Kled at all. So yeah, I mean, overall, I think this is like a very beneficial patch for Kled. Obviously, we don't know what's going to go live exactly because it's 2 weeks from now, this patch. But like, yeah, like your best items are unchanged, completely unchanged. You have an extremely just broken new pen item that I feel like everybody's going to buy. Every AD champ that auto attacks is going to buy this if they need pen. you know, Infinity at just like a joke of an item. Even though it's expensive, it's like a ridiculous amount of damage on one item. You know, PD disgustingly overstated. And you know, this is obviously all supposed to be ADC items, because this patch was trying very hard to buff ADC, but Kled can use all these items very well, which is nice because he benefits from them all, you know, all. You know, Axiomark has not changed, and then he still has a lot of good, you know, old options, as well as some good new options. As well as them taking out some percent HP damage, either flat out removing it or nerfing it. You know, and the Tabi change, I mean, I think all these changes are just super good for Kled. So I'm really looking forward to this patch. You know, these last few patches this season have been very, like, nothing, like, not very impactful patches. So I'm definitely looking forward to this patch to try new stuff. I'm going to be playing more on the PBE to test more things and see what else gets changed. If anything significant gets changed, I'll upload something about that, of course. But yeah, I'm going to be playing more PBE gameplay on stream and uploading more soon. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about the changes. I mean, I'm looking forward to them. I don't even care if they're broken on ADC, because, to be honest, bro, the ADCs look exactly the same to me every time. Every time I have to fight an ADC, it feels the same. Either I can do nothing because my bot lane's 0-10, or I one-shot them because they're 0-10. So honestly, it doesn't matter. I only care about the stuff that I get to test on my champs. So yeah, thank you for watching this. If you have any questions, definitely comment. I'll answer as fast as I can. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Have a good one. Peace. Thank you for watching.